A very good afternoon and warm welcome to all our esteemed guests, respected dignitaries to the Smart Water Distribution session at India Smart Utility Week. Government of India has taken ground-breaking initiatives by launching a country-wide ground survey to check the implementation of Har Ghar Jal Scheme in all states and to ensure that drinking water is being provided through the newly installed tap connections to all households in the country. This initiative has shown considerable progress in several states across the country. To start the discussion, I am privileged to invite Shri A.K. Dinkar, Secretary CBIP, to kindly give the welcome address. And I would also request Mr. S.N. Tripathi to please kindly come and give the keynote address, please. A.K. Dinkar is currently the Secretary of the Central Board of Irrigation and Power. He is a former Engineer-in-Chief of the Irrigation Department, Government of Uttarakhand. He has more than 4 decades of professional experience in engineering management, design planning, execution and maintenance of water resources and infrastructure projects. Welcome, sir. Please.
Good afternoon. I feel privileged and honored to be here amongst the dignitaries, guests, august gathering of experts on the important session on smart water distribution being jointly organized by ISGF and CBIP. It is my proud privilege to welcome our guests on the dais. We are very much grateful to you, sir, for sparing your valuable time for this important session today. As told by Ashima, that the Government of India has taken groundbreaking initiative by launching a countrywide ground survey to check the implementation of Har Ghar Jal Scheme in all states and to ensure that drinking quality water is being provided through the newly installed tap connections to all households in the country. In continuation to this, Bihar government state has installed sensor-based IoT devices in 30 districts to ensure an uninterrupted drinking water supply. The National Mission for Clean Ganga (NMCG) is planning to provide treated sewage water from various sources to the Ganga River to the benefit of the local people. The technological and commercial advancements in the water sector will help provide quality water and will ensure a circular economy in the country. I feel all the areas highlighted are important and also will be covered in the deliberations during the session. I welcome you all for becoming part of the today's session and also appreciate the efforts put in by the eminent experts for their presentations. I welcome all and convey my sincere thanks to them for their participation, for sharing their expertise with the participants. In the present competitive and challenging era, updating the knowledge is respective field is the most essential thing which helps improve the skills of individuals, organizations and the country as a whole. We at CBIP are organizing knowledge sharing session on important topics on regular basis. I request you all to take advantage wherever you feel like. With this, I once again welcome you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, I would request Mr. S.N. Tripathi to kindly give the keynote address. Mr. S.N. Tripathi is currently working as a Regional Executive Director, Hydro and ED for Project Management at NTPC Limited. He has 35 years of experience in the power industry. He is an expert in operation and management and project management and construction. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Aisa, for giving my introduction to the forum. When I entered in this conference, the feeling that I gathered, that the people are gathered here for a noble cause. And delivering a keynote address for this noble cause, I found myself privileged to amongst you to learn something, to disseminate something which is the need of the hour. I think let us see that our population is now 17 to 18% of the entire world, and we are having 4% of the water share. So with 4% of water share, how we are going to manage the 17% of the population with a targeted growth rate of the GDP, which we are targeting near future in double digit. So the growth in population and the growth in the industrial activities, as well as the standard of living of the people, all are demanding the more and more natural resources, and water is a very precious natural resource. I remember I used to hear this word from my grandfather. The Vedas have a specific chapters on water. Apa. Apa means water. There are 9 types of water that has been defined in the Rig Veda, and different water has got different purpose, and they have told that they must be conserved. So they have told that Siva Nasantu Varshiki. This is a very small statement. So that shows the entire philosophy of water conservation. Water is a form of Shiva. It's just like God. And I think everybody knows in our Hindu Sanatan mythology, the thing to which you are getting benefited is like a God to you, whether it is air, it is fire, whatever it may be. So you see our culture and our ancient people have already defined the way that is to be used. Now with the increase in demand, I think present our demand is nearly 1015 billion cubic meter per annum, BCM per annum, which is going to be around 1400 in 2050. We have, I think, counting data is available from 2010, 2008 and 10. So you see, this is the growth rate of consumption pattern. Now in the industrial segment, the energy sector itself, the demand is going to be treble in the next 10 to 15 years. We were discussing just before the session, the irrigation is the 80% consumer of the water. So 80% is the consumption on the irrigation side. Now, as far as the world standard is concerned, there is a standard that if it is 1700 cubic meter per day per capita, if it is there, then we say that very comfortable level. But we stand at near 1018. So our standard means we are not able to supply potable sufficient water to my people. Now question is that how to control it, how to monitor it, and that is the question before this forum. Everybody knows the things which is required to be controlled need to be monitored. And I am very frank to note that there has been not a vivid policy advocacy regarding water. Of course, we have made some legal in 2008, 10, 12, some frameworks has been made. But the on-ground implementation has started from last few years. Even these are on the intellectual forum. But the ground, on ground, the people, as we are discussing, people has to be sensitized regarding use of the wastewater. Only 33% of the wastewater in the country is now going to be recycled, even after a lot of push. Less 67% of the water is wasted. Rainwater harvesting, you know, our country is a country where we are having variation of the rainfall is very, very wide. Even if entire area, if you calculate total rainwater, the data will show, of course, we are having 1011 BCM, and our consumption just now is less than 1000 or maybe 1000. So we are now water surplus, but it is not shown. And effect is shown that somewhere there is a flood, somewhere there is a drought. We are not having an integrated approach of the water management in the country. Now, with this conferences like this, or it is happening through the ministry and everywhere, people are to be sensitized to the ground level for the water. Of course, regarding energy, everybody is sensitized, because what was happening, for energy use, there is a money we have to pay. But unfortunately, water has been considered as a free item, just like air, by the common people. So they are not forced to conserve, because the vision that is that we are water scarce country. In the place of 1700 cubic meter per capita per annum, we are not able to supply even more than 1000. So we are water starved. In the case of potable water, we are still dependent upon the groundwater, 80% in rural area on the groundwater, and around 65%, I may be wrong in the statistics, but it is a 2 years old data in the rural area. So with this Har Ghar Jal Yojana that has been launched, it is the most appreciable step by government. You see, if you are not providing water to the people, you are also giving them deprived of their social standard, as well as the hygiene and health and the basic need of the people. So with the Swachh Bharat mission also, the role of water has increased. हम स्वच्छता नहीं ला सकते अगर पानी नहीं है कहीं. No toilet can work if there is no water in Indian context itself. So the concept of this conference, Har Ghar Jal Yojana, and how to monitor and how to manage the water. So now time has come that we have to manage our water resource right from supply side as well as the demand side. Now for the supply side, I think the rainwater harvesting and whatever river channelizing, then there we are having so many Ganga basin program. I think 8 or 9 basin program has been launched by government to supply side management program. In the demand side, we were discussing the demand side, the precious use of water, as well as right use of the groundwater, and the unnecessary consumption by somebody, and the use of wastewater, recycled water in the industry. You know, in NTPC we have virtually the major consumption in the power is for cooling towers, that is the cooling of this. So we have gone in some area for air cooled condenser, and our North Karanpura in the Jharkhand and the Patratu, both are 1980 and 2400 megawatt plants that will run on air cooled condenser, and with which we will reducing our water footprint by 97%. So that is the huge step. Of course, there is a cost on capital cost, as well as there is some efficiency loss because of this, but still as a country model for the country to save water, we have gone through that. And you will also appreciate in NTPC through this Namami Ganga Yojana, we are going to use the treated water nearby municipality, to which it is going to the Ganga, to our plants in Meja, Bar, Kahalgaon, Korba, other things. So already it has been, the scheme has been finalized. So we are also going for zero liquid level discharge, ZLD schemes for all our plant. It is being implemented and monitored by the government also. So I will not take time because already we have started half an hour late. There are a lot of things that needs to be discussed, and last but not least, my friend, it is our responsibility at present, at the juncture where everybody is talking about scarcing resources. It is our responsibility as an individual, as an intellectual, as a responsible citizen to work on this by spreading the movement to the ground people who are the really consumer, really user, to sensitize them. So those three forums, I want to give this message that please try to, because only government cannot do. It is the right, because it is the item which is available everywhere. Anybody can access and do. Otherwise, water board will be nationalized, so that you cannot use water here and there. That time will come. So again, I congratulate the organizers for making this thing happen, that everybody is now focusing on a single item, and in 1 hour, 1.5 hour session, if you are thought, something will come out. And if this small effort can put the way for water conservation, which is for our future, then it will be great help to our community, to the country and the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was a great pleasure listening to you. I would request Mr. A.K. Tripathi, sir, Mr. A.K. Dinkar, sir, to kindly hand over the memento to Mr. S.N. Tripathi. Mr. S.N. Tripathi can give the memento to Mr. Dinkar. Okay. Yes.
No problem. Memento of the moment.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now be proceeding with our session 1, which is the National Mission for Clean Ganga. The National Mission for Clean Ganga was implemented by the National Council for Rejuvenation, Protection and Management of River, Ganga, also known as the National Ganga Council. The National Mission for Clean Ganga is also planning to sell treated water to power plants. This will help to establish a circular economy across the state. With this background, I would like to invite our chair and moderator, Mr. Saurav Das Patnaik, the Managing Director for Swachh Environment Private Limited. Please, sir. Mr. Saurav Das Patnaik is an engineering and management professional with 35 years of cross-functional experience. Saurav Das Patnaik is currently the Managing Director of Swachh Environment Private Limited. He also serves as a director for Nangloi Water Services, Government of NCT Delhi, Director, Haldia Water Services, established to provide 24/7 water services as utility under Haldia Development Authority, Government of Bengal. Welcome, sir. We have Mr. Rajneesh Chopra, who is the Global Head Business Development, VA Tech Wabak Limited. Mr. Rajneesh Chopra is the Global Head Business Development in VA Tech Wabag Limited, a leading MNC offering life cycle solutions to industries and municipalities in water and wastewater treatment. Welcome, sir. Next, we have Mr. Kamal Verma, who is the CEO of Water Business Group, Triveni Engineering and Industries Limited. Mr. Kamal Verma is CEO of Water Business Group of Triveni Engineering and Industries Limited. He is a graduate in Civil Engineering and MBA with more than 30 years of professional experience in EPC and PPP businesses. Welcome, sir. I would request Mr. Saurav Das Patnaik to kindly chair the session, sir.
Okay, I think good afternoon. Though the session is running a bit late, we will make do without any major formalities. But first of all, I must congratulate ISGF, Ashima and the entire team to have actually managed to have this event after the COVID of last 2.5 years. lot of effort has gone in. I must acknowledge this fact. The quantity of speakers or the audience does not reflect the severity and the seriousness of this issue. In fact, water is the lifeline, as Mr. Tripathi has mentioned and Mr. Dinkar has also mentioned, and all of us in this colleague, in this August House will say that. Now, the subject matter of this session, which is about, I think around 40 minutes have been allocated, is the experience of Namami Gange. Before this Namami Gange happened, we are familiar with the Ganga Water Commission. Much efforts have been made since last 20, 25, 30 years on cleaning the Ganga. But a mission mode exercise was initiated only a few years back, and the formation of Namami Gange was taken up. Perhaps one of the largest initiatives which have been taken in anywhere in the world, which is impacting more than 400 million people in this entire Gangetic plain. Or all our civilizations in this world, be it the Nile, be it the Euphrates, the Tigris, the Indus has died. It is no more there much, hardly the civilization has died. The South American Amazon. So these are all living civilizations which has been there for thousands of years. So it is onerous upon us in our generations and the future generations to give life and livelihoods and continue with the ecosystem which the entire river belt and the delta and the basin has given us. So whatever we are witnessing is a rejuvenation of the river which has been there since millions of years on this Mother Earth. We are only doing a small bit, an effort to see that whatever we have done in the last 100 years is just impacted our ecology, our flora and fauna is addressed. Now this is the experiment which India is making with Namami Gange, will get cascaded in multiple rivers. And that is why now the tributaries of Ganges also has been brought in under the purview of NMCG. Mr. Ashok Kumar is not here today, but I must confess the work which has been put in or has been put in is magnanimous and huge. Lots of challenges are there, we are all there, and we are seeing the challenges which are coming as we go along. But just see the Herculean effort, Ganga and its tributaries, including Yamuna and all the tributaries, major and minor tributaries, which is flowing into Ganga, finally in the Bay of Bengal, and also covering the delta of Bangladesh, which is the Sundarbans, the largest delta in the world, impacting more than 400 million people across in 2 countries, or rather 3 countries. Nepal also is there. Now, and the major other rivers which will also get impacted by this same program is something which we must think. So today we have a very eminent panel of experts who have been associated with the Namami Gange, with the pollution abatement exercise, by building the networks, by building in new technologies for the sewerage treatment plants, both centralized and decentralized. And the concept of use and reuse which has been coming in. This August panel will definitely deliver a lot of ideas. The 3 main issues which have been brought in by the organizers and also have been brought in, these are assets being built to live for the next 50, 100 years for our future generations. Now how do you create these sustainable assets, financial assets which have been built up, huge amount of investments are happening, the numbers we will build as we go along. So how do you monetize? One of the subject matter is monetization of assets. And the private sector, which Mr. Rajneesh and the team and Mr. Kamal Verma are also there. I have also the presence of my very good friend and colleague from the industry, Mr. Ashish Mathur. And I had to request him to come in and join this session, though he is not on the panel, but we will surely seek his guidance and inputs as we go along. Mr. Ashish Mathur was the managing director of the Tata Jusco and Mahindras earlier, and he has been associated with the development of complete city assets in the past. So Ashish surely we will seek your brains. With this view, I thought I'll just put in the points and a few questions which I wanted to share while I would be seated with my eminent panelists, Mr. Rajneesh and Mr. Kamal, and other panelists also, Mr. Tripathi may join in, Mr. Dinkar may join in as we go along. So one of the important points which I have seen is the investment which have been made significantly by the public and the private sector. And Namami Ganga is all talking about PPP more in significant areas. Yeah, I think. One of the important points which I wanted to ask Mr. Kamal and also Mr. Rajneesh is their experiences in building the infrastructure of the Namami Ganga, both as a EPC and as well as a hybrid. Because the mindset of EPC cannot happen because you are an investor also. You are investing into the entire asset. The 15 years, 20 years concessions are being looked at. Concept of reuse has been built in by you, very innovatively in Mathura. And I would like you to share your experiences of having successfully, I think, almost completed the project now, to share with the audience and some of the other delegates. And I would request the organizers to, also record some of these initiatives which have been taken so that a white paper can be created. Over to you.
Right, thank you very much. I have a small presentation. Most of the questions you have raised, some of the questions will be answered over there. So should I go there?
Yeah, yes. Spend about 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, sure. Where is the presentation? And yeah, here. Yeah.
Minimize mode.
Yes, thank you very much. You can go to full screen. So thank you very much for this opportunity, and I congratulate the organizer, Ashima, and other people. I am from Triveni Engineering, and as you may be aware that water business is more than 30 years in our company, and we are a part of the large Triveni group, having more than 7,500 employees, and not going into details. Of course, in water business, we are into the hardcore water and wastewater treatment systems. We have done more than 1,200 installations, more than 10,000 MLD water is treated through our projects, and we have our equipment, process equipment manufacturing also. So more than 2,000 installations we have done so far. Now coming back on some of the questions raised by Mr. Patnaik, monetization of the development of the under the NMCG. So I think it is very important that there must be some way to recover the money from the waste. We have been talking a lot for quite some time, and there have been some experiments here and there. But I think in NMCG, fortunately, we are the concession company as well as the EPC contractor for one of the unique project, which is Mathura, under one city, one operator, wherein lot of two specific treatment plants are there. One is 30 MLD based on SBR. Second, upgradation of the existing USU plant and putting up a 20 MLD tertiary treatment plant. The idea was, after the tertiary treatment, the water should be supplied to the IOCL refinery. IOCL refinery will buy this 20 MLD water, and they will pay to the UP Jal Nigam. It's roughly around 20 crores per year. So that's really a unique model in NMCG in any HAM project. The success and conceptual approach was the project was due to the availability of the IOCL refinery in the vicinity in Mathura itself. So therefore, if there is some off-taker in the vicinity wherever this treatment plant is happening, so certainly that must be explored by NMCG and other stakeholders to see whether there is a possibility of selling this treated wastewater to that industry. In this particular case, the IOCL refinery will disconnect all their other sources of the water. So they will be completely dependent on this 20 MLD tertiary treated sewage. So that's a unique thing. So therefore, I think I have seen Mr. Gadkari and NMCG DG, unfortunately he is not here today. They have mentioned many number of times that this is the model first time adopted by NMCG, where UP Jal Nigam is earning money by selling the waste. So that must be explored. So regarding this Mathura project, the COD has happened already, and water is being supplied to IOCL refinery. And of course, as you may be aware, then in all the NMCG HAM projects, the operation and maintenance period is for 15 years. So certainly, like Mr. Patnaik mentioned, that the thinking process of an EPC contractor and a developer is very different, because developer has to maintain for a longish period of time. If they are not in a position to maintain the performance of the plant, there will be heavy penalties, whether they are going in power consumption out from the guaranteed limit, or the parameters are not matching. So certainly the developer has to be very, very accurate, and they have to be very, very mindful that heavy penalties will be levied if they do not plan the project and if they do not maintain the project properly. I think this is one of the important point. Second point about the circular economy in the wastewater. So certainly circular economy, what is circular economy in wastewater? Circular economy means that it should be reuse and recycle. So currently, as mentioned in Mr. Tripathi, that India is the home for 17% of the population, and only 4% of the water stock is available to us. And as per the CPCB report of 2021, around 72,000 MLD of the sewage is generated in entire country. And with the pace which we are working, the population is growing. We will have, estimated number is 1,20,000 MLD by 2050. So certainly there will be more consumption of water, there will be more sewage will be generated. Unfortunately, as on today, only 44 to 45% of the installed capacity of the STP is there, out of whatever total sewage is generated. So certainly there is a big gap between whatever sewage is generated and what is the installed capacity. I am still talking about the installed capacity. So you have to see there is again a difference between the installed capacity and what are the functioning STP plants on the ground. So there is a huge difference over there. So unless we use the, people call it the 3R approach, reduce, reuse and recycle approach. So it will be very difficult to cater to next 20-30 years for that kind of population. So in SM, and fortunately the 3R approach is also a popular strategy under the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of 2030 agenda. So it is in line with those thought process. So currently, as per the estimate, if we just pick up only 25% of the recycle reuse, not the 100%, so then there will be benefit due to this circular economy, around more than 3,000 crore per year for the sale of the treated sewage, and around 6,700 crore for the sludge recycle reuse by utilization of the gas and utilization of the compost to the farmers and other agencies. So certainly this is a very, very big task, and a lot of structural changes are required. As discussed in many forums, that water is a state subject, and within the state also it is dealt by the third layer of the governance, which is the urban local body, municipal corporation, or the water boards. They are always struggling for the funds. Wherever the fund is available, those projects see the light of the day. Otherwise, there is extreme difficulty in managing such stuff. The key factor for the success of the circular economy for the wastewater and sludge, I think, like state level and central, there must be a uniform body for the institutional mechanisms should be required, and the comprehensive new standards for the designated use of the treated wastewater and sludge, and exactly policy should define what is included, what is excluded, and we should incentivize byproduct and biogas generation out of the sludge, and we can sell those things and tag with this thing along with the chemical fertilizer to increase the sale of the compost and all that. And creating PPP models for STP, reuse, etc. Of course, currently the HAM model by the NMCG is well tested, and a lot of people got involved in that one, and IFC Washington was hired to frame and finalize the concession agreement. So certainly after working with the NMCG and completing a full project, our experience is that NMCG is a fair organization, and the concession agreement is well balanced. So risk structure is properly allocated. and the document is bankable. So these are some of the good points in the NMCG as far as the contract structuring is concerned. This is about the circular economy. So you can see here that raw water goes to the water treatment plants, and then, sorry, it has jumped. Then for the WTP, and then it is supplied to industries, municipal corporations, areas for the domestic and the agriculture. And then wastewater is generated from the industries and municipal, and it goes to the wastewater treatment. Then it should go back to the water treatment and to the supply for the non-potable use like the industries and agriculture. So, and plus there will be a generation of the sludge, which can be, I call it a resource, because due to nutrients value and all that, it can be used for the agriculture purpose. And the biogas which is generated out of the sludge, it can be used as the energy for the industries and the urban applications. And the other areas could be utilized for the industrial and manufacturing. So it's a complete, circulation of the economy in the wastewater business. And one question, I think Mr. Patnaik mentioned that the progress and the challenges of the NMCG. Of course, there is a lot of buzzword about the NMCG projects, and majority of the projects, like 20,000 crore allocation, is in the tail end. Only one odd projects are well, like Saharanpur, and one small project in the Mathura are still balanced. Now NMCG has to focus more on the tributaries of the Ganga and part of Yamuna and that. So I hope that NMCG, with the same spirit, I think more program will be rolled out for the tributaries of the Ganga. And some of the challenges I think I should mention here. I would have been very happy if NMCG guys were here. So challenges is one is the pre-qualification. So pre-qualification, certainly these are the ham job, are kept very low, which is resulting into non-water companies or general infrastructure companies. They make a tie-up with some other company and they become qualified for these jobs. And when the new entrant comes, either the bidding price is very high or bidding price is very low, because they are not really the guys from this sector. So this is creating a lot of problem in terms of the bidding level. If any bid happen, take example of Meerut, the lowest to highest, the bidding, there will be a difference of 250 to 300% from the lowest to highest. So it means that either the bidders have not understood the scope of work properly, or they have, some of the guys may have overestimated, some of the guys may have underestimated. So pre-qualification level, I think NMCG has to think again, what should be the adequate entry barrier for the selection of the companies over there. Power guarantee in the price evaluation is another very tricky and very problematic issues. We have seen in some of the recent bids where some of the bidders are quoting literally zero power consumption for 15 years period, and this power is added to the price of the bidder. The price bidder, the price of the winning bidder, EPC point of view may be high, but he has quoted literally zero power consumption in 15 years, so he becomes a winner in the bidding process. So certainly, if anybody is quoting zero consumption for 15 years to run the plant, practically on ground it will not happen. So certainly there will be a problem at the operation and maintenance level, and nobody knows how this program will eventually be taken up if the contractor is not working properly, if they are not maintaining. The entire purpose of cleaning the Ganga will be defeated. So these are the two areas. So my view is that my recommendation is that power guarantee number should be removed from the evaluation. Ultimately, it should be done on the what price has been quoted. Whomsoever is quoting the lowest price, he should be awarded the job, and they can create a benchmark based upon the Indian industrial practice, that what should be the power guarantee level, rather than evaluating and then getting a distorted numbers in that. And some of the other peripheral issues, that the land constraint we have seen in some of the projects like in Mathura, Gokul Barrage, Meerut, Bareilly project, where very small piece of land is allocated to the STP. and the layout becomes extremely congested, or at times you have to go double story structure. So and this is a 15-year O&M period, so we have to maintain the plant for 15 years. And very tight congested layout can be a challenge for the operation and maintenance point of view. So one has to see how to take up this issue. Another big issue which majority of the STPs are facing in the country is the incoming sewage characteristics. So the DPR and the concession agreement mentions some of the things that they should be the characteristics of the incoming effluent, but practically it does not come because the plant is designed for whatever is written in the tender document. Plant is ready, but when the incoming effluent is coming, there is a very severe fluctuations in the incoming. So where the industrial waste is getting mixed into the sewage, the COD becomes very high, and plant is not designed to that one. In some of the tertiary treatment plant, you have the ultrafiltration membranes or RO membranes. So certainly those membranes will be affected due to the high COD because they are not designed to take that kind of COD. But when the contractor and the concessionaire is around, so he is already on the defensive because he has already invested so much money into the project, and so he has to find way at his own. So how to resolve this situation? So certainly there must be, the NMCG must keep an eye on the consultants, and they must review it, what kind of incoming parameter they are taking while finalizing the DPR and the cost estimates. And there must be a flexibility in that, and maybe they should take 10 to 15% higher side of the incoming parameter to avoid any, to create a buffer to avoid any fluctuations in that. So these are the points, challenges I wanted to highlight. There may be others also. Probably we will discuss during the point.
Yeah, I think thank you for having encapsulated some of the key points, Mr. Kamal. And you have actually made my job easier because you have very nicely encapsulated a couple of issues, including the circularity and the challenges. But I think we have a great waterman here, and none other than Mr. Rajneesh. And Rajneesh and me, of course, are good friends, but more than that, he's been a pioneer. So Rajneesh, over to you. You have huge experience in this area. So a couple of points which you would like to relate.
Hello. Yeah. Thank you, Saurabh. Thanks for all your generous remarks. See, I represent a company called VA-Tech Wabag Limited. It's a 98-year-old company having presence, it's an Indian multinational, having presence in India, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Europe, and a bit in Latin America. So when we talk about, circularity in wastewater treatment, I think we have been practicing it for decades. Currently, we recycle around 2,500 million liters of water each day for various purposes. And even for companies like NTPC, and especially in oil and gas, I think normally Mr. Tripathi was mentioning about doubling the consumption of water over the next few years, given the economic growth at which we are progressing. But in a lot of forums, I've seen that industry is being blamed for, a lot of pollution as well as consumption. But in my opinion, and based on practical experience, I have spent more than 3 decades in this field in India. I think large industries, heavy industries, be it energy, be it metals, mining, steel, petroleum, both petchem as well as refining, I think they have been very, very responsible. I think we just saw that, IOCL is going to take water from NMCG, in this project which has been executed by Triveni in Mathura. But the first, recycle plant, which was 20 MLD per day, was put up by IOCL Panipat and executed almost 17, 18 years back. So the recovery is around 90%. It is all the cooling water blow down which they take and they recycle. So industry has been responsible. Now I heard Mr. Tripathi talking about ZLD. All new oil and gas sector, they are all ZLD. So it's been a very, very responsive. Now the question is, what if we come to NMCG projects? I think this is a landmark as far as NMCG is concerned of a recycle and reuse. But the key thing is that NMCG along with Niti Aayog, they have to declare wastewater as a resource. Today it is being treated because there is a NGT, there is a environmental norms to be followed, compliance has to be followed. But till such time that we start valuing it as a resource. In fact, I heard in Delhi only a few years back from the Maharashtra water regulator that Maharashtra has already declared it as a resource. Once it is declared as a resource, it has to be monitored, it has to be metered, it has to be audited and seen what is going to be the reuse. So as an organization, we have demonstrated that all three elements, water, gas as well as biosolids, they are recyclable and have a lot of value. Now if I look at a typical plant, which is normally we do larger plants. So if it is a 100 MLD plant, probably given the characteristics of the sewage and average sewage, I think it should be a power neutral plant. So if it is a power neutral plant, means 100% of the captive power required is to be generated in the plant. And currently we are generating around 40 megawatts of energy in our various STPs. So if I talk about Namami Gange, the first project which was inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister in Varanasi was 140 MLD sewage treatment plant. So it is today a power neutral plant. The treated water currently is being, again given back to a tributary of Ganga, which is called Varuna, and the biosolids currently are, getting disposed as a landfill. But the city where I am sitting right now, we have built a plant which is recycling all the three elements. It is Pappankala, a plant in Delhi, where energy is being generated, where biosolids are getting converted into a biomanure with a very, very scientific process, and as per contract, we'll be distributing it free to the farmers. And I'm told by some of the government departments that there's a policy that if you distribute free to the farmers and you are able to keep a record of that, you can claim up to 1,500 rupees per ton as a subsidy. So it has value. At the same time, it has a lot of economic value for the farmers. The municipality, they save a lot of landfill area, and as an operator, I save 10 to 11% of my OPEX, which is generally used in the logistics cost for disposing of this biosolids. Earlier I spoke about energy. Energy contributes more than 50% of the capex of a sewage treatment plant. So that if I am making a power neutral plant, that is taken care. So if I am in Delhi, the wastewater which is going to be generated out of treated wastewater, it is much before new NGT norms came. It is less than 10 BOD and 10 DSS. And the water is already being, supplied for construction, for horticulture. And I must compliment Delhi Jal Board. Now they have, all the artificial lakes which were there or have been created. So all the balanced water they are trying to take there. And they have created lakes which will be created more like tourist spots. And also it will lead to a very good way of recharging the groundwater. So the circularity can be done. Now when it comes to Ganga belt, I think in 2019 I spoke on India Water Week about monetization of assets. Probably that time the view was that, maybe it is little futuristic. But I think whether it was solar, whether it is now hydrogen or bio-CNG, whatever people anticipated, it's happening much faster than that in the country. So we live in a new India. So same way the circularity in this thing. And also I would like to highlight, although I have conveyed it to NMCG in a different forum, that we need to see that a lot of this gas where we are converting into energy, today going forward probably we'll be looking at converting it into bio-CNG, and I'll come to Ashish to sell it to him. for the simple reason that in the cities, I think it gives a much better returns compared to what is there in terms of energy. So that is one thing. And third, we are already exploring possibility of I spoke about in a NMCG forum only about green hydrogen economy on the Ganga belt. So I think treated wastewater, I think companies, we are all technology companies, we can treat the water. In fact, we are today giving suggestions to electrolyzer manufacturer which quality of water will give you the best output and lowest OPEX and best output. So, the treated wastewater can be used for generating hydrogen, and also oxygen can be a byproduct. Currently in all the projects where we are giving, proposals for desalination plants, I see it's all getting, flared back to the atmosphere. But the same can be used in an STP or a wastewater treatment plant, and we can bring down the energy factor of that wastewater treatment plant by almost theoretically 60%, maybe if I look at practicality, maybe 55%. So it could be very efficient ways, and the way India is progressing, we operate a lot in Europe, we operate in Middle East, but I can, vouch for it, the way we are going about it. This circularity in wastewater treatment plants is definitely not only a possibility, but it will this thing. And the main thing is, I again say, let's not treat this as a liability, let's treat it as a resource. There's a lot of commercial value into it, and everybody would be looking forward to doing it. Thank you so much.
Very, very, I think, well, articulated. Since I think Mr. Tripathi is here, I have the advantage of seeking some insights. As we are, familiar with India, the rule which has been put in that power plants have to take water, that is the reused, recycled water, within 50 kilometers of the radius from the municipalities. There are many successful models available in India. In fact, Nagpur model has been highlighted several times. But do you think from an NTPC or from the power industry or the energy sector, enough has been done? And if yes, there is scope to do what is the revenue model for this?
Thank you, Saurabh. The question that has been asked regarding, of course, there is a policy to reuse the treated water from the municipality, which is within a certain range, to be used by the power plant. Technologically, there is no issue. Technically, we can use it, and we are using also. The question that you have rightly posed is the infrastructure and the capital, because what I was going through this Namami Ganga project also, because this water management requires a lot of huge capital intensity. And since a running plant or power plant which is operating, and it will be an extra capital item which is to be added, and since we are operating the entire plant in NTPC on a model that we are getting our cost reimbursed through regulatory commissions. So if regulatory commission provides, we are virtually advocating this thing as a part, because it is an extraordinary cost which we are booking, then it is quite possible to use. Of course, from Namami Ganga initiative, 5 locations we are putting our plant, and we are moving towards the implementation of this project of water use in our power plant. So actually we are in the power industry working in 3 fronts. Normally all our power plants have been designed for normal water that either we are getting from some sources. So first of all, from the consumption point of view, first of all the process optimization, zero liquid discharge, as well as as I told you, the maximum loss is in the evaporation or maintaining the cooling water chemistry. Now through cooling water chemistry, earlier we used to operate at a particular designated very low COC, cycle of concentration. Now we have shifted entire our region from lower to higher COC. We are taking some calculated risk on our equipment, but save time, a lot of water saving on this. So water footprint of the energy sector, that in NTPC we have calculated, we have reduced by around 40%. Whatever we are operating 5 years back, now it is less than 40% of that. So demand side means consumption side management, it is there. Similarly, technological advantage, just like I talked about air cooled condenser, it is drastically reducing. So then whatever water recycling and reusing of the water, that initiative will certainly give. That's why the projection in the energy sector, just now we are being operating in the energy sector 5 billion cubic meter consumption per annum, which is required, which is will be increasing by, because we are adding more and more. Energy sector growth is very, very high. I think you people are knowing in the net zero initiative. Even with the addition of solar power plants, it has got also very high water footprint. So again, technological advantages are being searched to substitute water for the cleaning of the panel and other things. So it is going to be treble by 2030. So it is going to be 15. And by 2050 and 2070, when we are going for net zero, the requirement as per the present growth trend, it will be more than 50 to 60. So it is a huge requirement is coming, if until unless some technological intervention is in the given, so that the footprint, water footprint of our energy sector should come down. Now I will answer the question you have asked about the funding, capital. Now every business operates on the profitability, whatever you tell. If nobody comes to do business for NTPC being a government company, also we works on a model, how we will operate, how we will sustain, how we will grow. Now the entire model depends upon the tariff, and tariff is fixed by the government. Now to government, if it is a noble cause, some part we are all ready to spend at a free, but some part, because it is a huge infrastructure. Suppose if 50 kilometer away, the pipeline entire network to build up, land acquisition, cost of the equipment is also not too big. So some, for waterman like you, sir, Rajesh ji, we have to search out some technological options for a cheaper solution of the infrastructure, how we can make. Of course, sustainability is also very, very important. So that's why, because ultimately the cost of electricity that we will be using with this expenditure, it will book to the common people. So the model that we are working on, our OPEX or CAPEX, we are loading something from the water area, and through that budget we are going to invest in those areas, so that in a constant pace we can work. So our first attack is the all thermal power plants who are working, operating near the Ganga. So our first focus is on that.
I was coming to that only.
So that way we are working first of all on that. Again, there was something, but because many times we have been asked to come and present, we are all ready. Only the question of money comes, who will invest? Either government should fund it, if it is there, or it should work on the public-private model. Suppose the cost of water which we are giving to, because we are also getting water at some cost through CWC or government irrigation department of respective state. If I am able to save some water, suppose that water is being me, suppose rupees X, and suppose I am getting your treated water at Y So if I am substituting some quantity Q, so Q into X minus Y, that is the total loading, that should be shared. So that model we can work. And in fact, I am moving on that direction only. Okay? I think that I have given you the...
Well said.
Can I just put one additional question? Thank you very much. I think it's
Actually,
a...
I was not in your panel, but...
No, but since it's a discussion, we must have this.
But NTPC can be the front runner in setting up this model
Yes.
for the
Of course.
country to follow.
Yes, yes.
So it means that you have very beautifully pointed out that of course there is a regulation from the ministry, notification from the ministry that within 50 kilometer you should essentially buy the treated sewage. But this project has not taken off due to the price costing issue that who will bear the cost. My question is, if some private entrepreneur comes up, if he is ready to invest, and first of all the treatment plant in the 50 kilometer municipality may not be in proper condition. Secondly, first thing is to upgrade them. Second is to put up a tertiary treatment plant because NTPC will be interested only in buying the tertiary treated water.
Correct.
So tertiary treatment plant is to be there. And then third is the pipeline from that place to your plant. If some private capital is required, if some private entrepreneur comes, some a PPP model is structured, the question is, who will be the concessioning authority? Whether the municipal corporation does not have that kind of strength because their paying capacity and all that is always question marked, and these documents are not bankable unless the NMCG chips in. We have seen many times there is a difficult task for the urban local bodies. So will NTPC be open if you can be on the driver's seat for steering the concession agreement and having a long-term arrangement with the PPP concessions?
First of all, let me clarify. Let me clarify. Whatever view I am expressing, it is my personal view. Because we are not entitled to say something which can be a policy for the company. But as a part of the technical discussion, whatever, because that model, I am already working on that, whatever you are telling. Because if NTPC cannot put an amount which I cannot claim for the regulators. Only I am telling, suppose I am buying 3 rupees per liter from by giving to the state government, and if you are ready to give me water, the treated water we can do, even at 3 rupees 50 paisa, I will buy. So my difference is only 50 paisa, that I load on the consumer. So that's why it can work. So that's, I need water. I am ready to, of course you are right it take, because from the equipment health point of view, I need tertiary treated water. So for tertiary treated water, whatever cost you are having, you fixed up a price of per liter cost of the water that you can supply. We are having a water agreement with the state government also. So if I can reduce my water agreement quantity and substitute it with the treated water, there is no harm in it. Any business sense will this only if there is some delta which is required.
Yeah, I think the only issue which we have seen as also water utilities in Haldia, because we supply the entire city of Haldia, both the water as well as fresh water, raw water and treated water. Also, the industry will see if there is a profit in taking water, because if the price of raw water from the filtered from the WTP is X, the cost of treated, reuse, recycle and tertiary treated will be X plus Y. That Y should not be more than 20% maximum. Is the industry willing to pay the 20% premium? So here I have a question for Mr. Ashish Mathur, because he is ex-Tata Steel, and in Jamshedpur they have done this exercise, and in Mahindra also we have done this. So what has been your experience?
I think loud enough, I guess.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good afternoon, everybody. I think whenever you have a discussion which moves from the dais to the audience, it is indeed very interesting discussion in it. And thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, everybody. I guess what Mr. Tripathi is saying, in my experience of the two major projects that we conducted, first at Mahindra World City in Jaipur and subsequently in Jamshedpur, this delta that you're talking about, Mr. Tripathi, is essentially paid for by itself. Because it's not a question of the water, the cost of the raw water versus cost of the treated water. And treated water, as Saurabh has pointed out, would always be cost plus plus. Having said that, in terms of when we look at the in entirety of the recycle, I mean what we're talking about, use, reuse, and recycle, over a period of time, like for example, take Tata Steel as an example, 400 million liters of water which was getting recycled in the city of Jamshedpur, and there was a cost attached to it, of course. What they found in terms of the industrial use, that all put together, the tertiary treated water, which they were getting, essentially was better in some quality, in some sense, from the raw water. And by virtue of that better water, what Rajneesh also pointed out, as they are now talking to the electrolyzer suppliers as to what quality of water will be better for their electrolyzers to be more efficient when it comes to hydrogen production. They found that tertiary treated water, in terms of the volume required per se for per capita of steam generation, or per capita of hydrogen generation, or per capita of various gases generation, was consumed less than the raw water which they were earlier getting from the river or from the ground sources. So over a period of 7 years itself, that excess amount of the excess capital which they had to put in was recovered. So it's a question of, once you start using and the quality of the tertiary water, which of course is pretty, because the technology permits you to govern that quality. And when you get a better quality of water at the end of the day, and which basically results into more efficient operation, the delta that you talked about is actually covered. And I'm sure what Saurabh has talked about 20%, and over a period of time, the various industries in Haldia, they probably have to start, they've realized already, and that's why they will be asking for more and more water. So it just pays for itself.
Yeah, actually,
it's a good cause, and it's a good commercial model.
Yeah, thank you, Ashish. From the power plant which we have seen, the power plants, require the conductivity of the water to be very low. I mean, because for the Demon plant, and in the river, what you are talking about, there are seasonal fluctuations. Conductivity today in the Hooghly near the coast, it's almost becoming the saline water. The TDS is going over 3000. Today, as I am reading, it's more than 3000. No, a normal conventional plant cannot handle. But power plant, what you said, there is a lot of wealth in the resource. What Mr. Rajneesh mentioned. If we are treating the water, the reused water as a good resource, because the band is much thinner. In a seasonal, the conductivity will go up over 1000, and they will cry, and the power plant will make noise. That it is not possible to take this water. But in the reused water, all these things have been taken care of. So what you are getting is not a surprise. You are getting more or less a band. So if reuse, really the discovery happens of the price, there is a lot of resource, and what you showed in your in that slide, it really caught up. Almost 10,500 crores of money is hidden. It has to be discovered, and it has to be taken out.
I tell you the operational difficulties, they used to have basically, because when you take water from the river per se, and those the wells and the filters during the monsoon time, they all get choked. They had to basically hire drivers to keep them clean, otherwise the water cannot be sucked in. So whole lot of problems as compared to you getting a consistent quality tertiary treated water coming to your doorstep. I think little bit of extra capital which gets put in is recovered over a period of time, and industry now has started acknowledging this fact.
Thank you very much. But since we are discussing, there is no doubt about the quality of water that will be provided to power plant through tertiary treatment. Of course, that is much better than whatever you are telling, that whatever we get. The 80% of the water in the power industry is used for the cooling purpose. Whatever. Now the cooling property of the water, so, and it is passing through different condensers and other tubes, so the scaling property and other, so that I think that thing we must consider. And the last but not the least, the quantity of, suppose 50 kilometer a municipal waste, how much water they can supply? What will be the percentage that I am getting from the river to this? So what is my net effect? Otherwise, if I am able to stop taking water from the river, then it is all right. The purpose is solved. But for the sake, if it is a 5% of my consumption, 95% I am taking from that. So the first and foremost requirement will be to generate more and more wastewater than recycling. But you are very right, a knock is required, small step is required to go further. Okay?
Yeah. See, what Ashish said, I think it all depends upon the application. Mr. Tripathi has already touched upon what I was about to say, that where there 80% water is getting used. So the quality of water for various application in a thermal power plant are different. So just, labeling it that, they require only TTR of water would not be a right solution. Probably we could have various streams, like some people just need, water which is, with the ultrafiltration and a good disinfection. It can be provided for a lot of purposes. For specific application, TTRO can be there. So when we have a, maybe 2 streams of water being supplied. Secondly, I think, to best of my knowledge, I think there is a lot of wastewater already available to be supplied. As I was sharing before this thing, probably not only the thermal power plants, but the industries cannot consume all the wastewater which is getting generated, and it has to be diverted for, recharge or, maybe sometimes for agriculture. It cannot be used there. And one more thing I've been advocating in a lot of forums is probably, it is high time India resorts to ASR, aquifer storage recharge, where we direct injection. There have been a lot of, apprehension, especially coming from academicians on that, you will spoil our groundwater also. But, companies, technology companies like us, we have been, producing direct potable reuse water since 2003 in Namibia, where, various streams of, wastewater comes from industries, breweries and all, and it's treated up to, drinking water standards. So I don't think, and I think some initiatives Jal Shakti Ministry has taken. So I think that's one way, because the cheapest storage we can have for our bad times, and obviously today there's no control on extraction of groundwater. So that could be another thing, which can be communicated, and I think that will really help us towards the water security.
I think, thank you, Rajneesh. I think since our organizers are telling us we have another about 5 to 7 minutes of time to continue, I wanted to have 1 or 2 observations from Mr. Kamal, Mr. Rajneesh, Mr. Tripathi, and the audience, especially Ashish. One of the important points which we have now discussed, that water as a resource. But let me also mention that today till now, as per the Niti Aayog, water is not treated as a priority sector in the lending status. In the entire COVID, ECLG's emergency credit lending was provided. The water works or sewerage water or waste water, though it is everybody's case, both state and center, it is still not given the status of a priority sector, neither it received any support during the COVID. This is an area which we all as a industry professionals must try to address this and bring it up to the notice of the government, the policy makers, and really make it happen. Otherwise, we will continue to struggle. Second is the GST element, still the high level, because it is finally for the common man, but it is treated as a consumer item. So GST, though input side it is not available, output side it is 18%. So no advantage is being provided in the GST side. These are very strange but technical issues which has to be addressed. And I think you will also face this problem as an engineering firm.
Yeah, that's correct. I think GST is a big issue, and especially the contracts which are relatively old. So GST rate changed from 12% to 18% last year. Some of the old contracts are very ambiguous whether the change of rate in the GST should be payable or not. So majority of companies are struggling to get the GST rate, GST enhanced rate. Even the Delhi Jal Board is not paying, Rajasthan government is not paying. Even NTPC for the services portion, they are not paying the GST. So these are the hard facts on the ground. And especially, yes, I agree with you. The water and wastewater sector should be considered as a priority sector. And people generally say that if the third world war happens, if you leave apart the Ukraine and Russia, that will happen on the water. We have seen that some of these states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, they have been fighting severely on the sharing of the water resources of the river. So this is a very serious issue, and in fact, when India got independence in 1947, the per capita availability of the water was more than 6,000 per capita. It has reduced to roughly around 1,700 now. And if we don't take any measure exactly after 100 years of the independence, it will fall much lower than the 1,700. So certainly we have already reached at a very critical stage in the availability of the fresh water. And the way the population of India is increasing, probably we will exceed China in terms of population. This is the only thing that probably will beat China. Yeah, already. She said already. So this is one thing we have beaten China actually. This is one of the area. So certainly when the population is growing, the consumption of water will increase, the generation of wastewater will increase. So certainly the circulation economy of the wastewater is very, very important. And I think these kind of conferences probably will give some food for thought for the government entities to look at the policy level, how they can really integrate and save the planet Earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamal. Since water is a state subject, and what you mentioned very, very clearly is at the ULB sector, the municipal sector, people expect KPIs, KRAs and the deliverables to be very smart, because this is a smart conference, I must say that. But at the end of the day, the level of maturity which has been seen in the power sector or the mobility sector, where the vast strides are happening in embracing the digital technologies, in delivery in the last mile sector, especially in the networks sector, where the distribution is happening, smart metering is happening. In the water sector, there is a lag, and that lag could be anywhere between 10 to 15 years. Whether we can catch up this situation and come as a utility of efficiency in the water utility, because we are in water utilities, we are as good or as bad as the power sector also, but efficiency level, because at the end of the day, Mr. Rajneesh mentioned, to pump 1 KL of water, 35 to almost 40% of the cost is the energy cost. We are actually building energy cost into our, to bring 1 KL to your house, we have to really burn a lot of energy, whether it is a footprint of carbon or hydrogen or green hydrogen, blue hydrogen or solar. At the end of the day, it is energy cost. How efficiently we are delivering this water to your homes, to your offices, to your hotels, is something we really have to think. So I would like to ask the power man and the waterman to give their views on this before we actually close.
The cost of pumping, that what you have told, is the real concern for the real commercial aspect of the water that is reaching to our home. The cost of power, because of various demand and supply gap, that has taken a peak. I think you might have got that the cap that has government was having around 12 rupees per unit has been removed, has gone up. So now electricity has become a part that it is all opportunity cost is prevailing in the market, and through exchanges power is being. Now that is the different subject on which we can deliberate how to bring down the average cost of power. But what I propose that we are now systems are operating on the mini grid system, in which we can have our installations with our own arrangement of power, that may be renewable, wind power, solar power, even hydrogen based. I was just talking just before the conference that whatever sludge it is coming out, it has got certain energy. Now with the generation of that energy, we can have the their own system of using the same power, so that the net effect of the pumping, whatever, we do not buy from the grid. Because the grid power, I am just predicting for next 10 years, India will be on the verge of energy cost war, because we are driving that our entire economy, even the mobility, even everywhere, it is going to be the electric intensive approach. So demand side, it is going to be very, very high. So when demand is going high and we are pushing our industry, our economic growth to a double digit, you can imagine the demand. Now I should not tell, but there was meeting last 24 hours. We are being pushing hard how I will manage this summer. That will be very critical, and government is giving us a Herculean task to manage our resource, because it is very, very difficult, and for government it is going to be an election year, and any such type of deviation will be an political effect. So not to mention anything about that, I am just speaking the reduction in the cost by providing some solution on the ground itself with microgrid, as well as what I will also expect from waterman and the industry people, that we must devise high efficiency pump.
Yes.
That should consume less water, or any technological bias where the pumping, the most efficient pumping can be adopted, even if the capital cost is high, because the payback period will come, that will serve the purpose. That is from my side.
Very well said. Very well said. Rajneesh, please.
Yeah. So the final comments, I think as an organization, we have our own ESG goals. We have sustainability goals. So all I can share is that, like we, make a lot of desalination plants. Now, historically, the consumption was around 4.5 kilowatt per hour, right, for a meter cube of water, 1,000 liters. So that was happening maybe 6 to 8 years back. Our latest ones are less than 3 kilowatt hour kind of a consumption. So it's all, same is true for our sewage treatment plants, ETP plants in industries, effluent treatment plants, common effluent treatment plants. So with every plant, one of the things is, and there are two factors to it. One, the selection of the most energy efficient equipment, and we do not mind sourcing it from any part of the world to become energy efficient. And second, because the normal life cycle is around 25 years for a plant, so it gives us a major advantage during the evaluation of the bid. So other than that, the process design, I think that is something where we have been continuously innovating and trying to see how we can bring down the energy. Second, what you touched about digitization, I think we have taken a lot of steps on that. As far as oil and gas sector is concerned, or even power sector is concerned, I think they have a water balance right on their SCADA. Okay, so probably I think it's all a question of implementing the same in terms of digitization and efficiency as far as the municipal sector is concerned, where we all have to work together to tell them that if there's an additional capex, what is going to be the payback period. Thank you. That's all.
Very well said. I think any questions from the audience team? Yes, madam.
I don't have a question here.
Or observations?
Yes,
If you can be brief and just give your comment.
very short.
Please,
When
please.
you've been talking of energy efficiency, I would like to say that we all individually here have to be water efficient. A very small observation, thank you so much. A very small observation that I've been seeing in the conference right since the time I've arrived. There are a lot of water bottles, and this is an individual appeal that I'm making to everybody out here, not this room, every room and every individual. You open this bottle, you drink a little bit and you leave it. Please carry these bottles with you, finish the bottles. We all are very privileged to have these bottled waters. I know he's talking of desalination there, and from where he's getting all that salty water to potable water, and what challenges his company and the technology has. But can we individually take responsibility of being water efficient, please?
So I'll just like to share that in our organization, every individual every month has to report how much water he has saved. And we have a green rated platinum building, so we are water surplus.
No, you as in are taking a lot of effort, but individually I want to appeal to each one of us, including me. Since morning I've taken care that I'm not left a bottle with little bit of water at least, because I'm privileged to have water, somebody else may not be. So please, it is a humble request to everybody at this entire conference, and please propagate this message to at least 5 individuals that we will be water efficient. So that we don't end up with a third world war with water.
Absolutely. Well said, well appreciated.
Very good, very good.
Any more questions? Okay, since I think we are running out of time, we will, with a vote of thanks to our esteemed speakers and panelists, and of course the audience who have been very patient enough, very intently looking silence and understanding the whole thing. So I must really compliment the organizers and for having taken out the time, Mr. Rajneesh, Mr. Tripathi and Mr. Kamal to have come in. They're great friends, and Ashish, who actually at a short notice could make it. Really, I must thank you for having come together to make this as a movement. I think let's continue the water, our voice of water. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request Mr. Saurabh Daspatnaik to kindly hand over the mementos to Mr. Kamal Verma. Thank you very much. I request Mr. Kamal Verma to stay back for the next session also, please. Sir, can you please hand over one memento to Mr. Rajneesh Chopra? Thank you so much. Thank you. And I would request for a group photograph.
Yes, we should have
Yes, sir.